Hi everybody, it's Lauren. Today I'm going to be making some book recommendations based on the traits and values of the 4 Hogwarts houses. I've seen this multiple times on BookTube and I thought it was really interesting. Generally, it's an entire video dedicated to a single house, but I would like to make this a recurring thing. So instead, I'm choosing one book for each house for a total of 4 in a single video. So next time I do this, it'll be the same format, but with 4 new books. Before I get started, I just want to send out a big thank you for all of the warm welcomes I've received since starting this channel. I really appreciate it. So as you may be able to guess from my red hat here, the first house on the agenda is Gryffindor. Gryffindors are known for being brave, daring, and chivalrous. And a book that I think portrays all of these qualities wonderfully is Graceling by Kristen Cashore. This is a YA high fantasy novel about a young woman named Katza who is a graceling, meaning that she was born with a specific extreme skill or power. A grace in a person is indicated by the fact that their eyes are 2 different colors. Sometimes the colors are pretty outrageous, so they're easily identifiable and often mistreated and thought of as freaks, especially Katza, because her grace is killing. Not the most savory grace to realize that you have. And because of this, her uncle, who is a corrupt king, uses her as his own personal thug. Along with most of the other characters, Katza is very dedicated to a good cause, which is difficult in her position. And the overarching theme of the book is the fight against being controlled or taken advantage of, whether that's by a dictator or a friend or even a loved one. Which is very Gryffindor, because at its core, chivalry is about treating others well, walking a noble path, and taking the high road for the right reasons. So with her good heart and her audacious personality, Katza is the epitome of a daring Gryffindor. She's adventurous, focused, hot-headed, and brave, of course, because that is the fundamental thing with this house. Both she and Prince Po, who is the second main character of this book, have their bravery tested multiple times over the course of the story. They have to make difficult decisions and face down things that truly frighten them. And some of those fears are very personal, which we all know those are the hardest ones to overcome. So it is wonderful watching these strong characters get challenged both externally and internally and grow from those experiences. That's one of the things that I think makes this book really strong. I love this book and I highly recommend it. And moving on to Hufflepuff. This is about as much yellow as I can safely wear, so we're going with black. The Hufflepuff traits and values are acceptance, patience, loyalty, justice, and hard work. This one really has the longest list, honestly. So for this house, I recommend the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard trilogy by Rick Riordan. So basically, we've got these demigod children of the Nordic deities like Thor, Sif, Loki, Freya. You might recognize some of these names from Marvel. And these teenagers are traveling among the 9 worlds and going on dangerous adventures. Acceptance is definitely a major theme in this series, which is the biggest reason I sorted it into Hufflepuff. Our main characters are diverse and disparate. And when I say diverse, I don't just mean ethnically. We've got a Muslim character, a deaf character, a trans character. She is introduced in book 2. And this group of friends are very loyal to each other. They stick together, they stick up for each other, and they love each other for their differences and never in spite of them. Also, what's emphasized over and over again is fairness, compassion, and understanding people who are different from you. In my opinion, most of these characters are hardworking. Since it's an adventure series, toils inevitably come up that they have to work through and they're very difficult. But also they all have specific skills and passions that they're very good at, and they put time and effort into them. So these talents were developed through blood, sweat, and tears, quite literally, because this is mythology. I believe that our main man, Magnus, here is a Hufflepuff. He comes off as sardonic at first, and he is, but only superficially, because right underneath that, he is a complete ray of sunshine and low-key a total mom friend. It makes me incredibly happy to see such diversity and positive messages in middle grade books. Rick Riordan truly is a blessing to us all. Not to mention his prose is just so funny. One quick warning, these do contain spoilers for the Percy Jackson books. So if you haven't read them and don't want anything ruined for you, you should probably go back and read them first. Okay, moving on. I am stoked about this one because this time we are doing my house, Ravenclaw. Ravenclaws value wisdom, wit, learning, and curiosity. And I wholeheartedly sort into this house A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. I did not want to repeat any books that I had in my last video, which was my top 5 books of 2018, but this is just so unbelievably Ravenclaw that I couldn't not include it. I mean, it's about a budding scientist studying dragons. Our leading lady, Isabella, is as curious and brainy as they come. We get to see the first time she ever dissected an animal, and when she was a kid, she spent a lot of time reading in her father's study. She is and always has been motivated by her desire for more knowledge and understanding of the world. So I personally rather enjoyed being in her mind and seeing through her eyes because she's just interesting. I also think this is a great read if you are a Ravenclaw because the world building is rich and detailed. You can just sink your teeth into it. It's wonderful. The author certainly makes excellent use of her background in archaeology and in folklore when she writes. So that pretty much covers the nerdy academic part. Wisdom does play a role in the book, a subtler one, because of Isabella's character growth. This is written as a memoir, so the actual voice we have is Isabella much older, recounting her experiences at the beginning of her career. So obviously she has matured a lot over the decades. There are times when she's reflecting on something that she said or did or even thought, and her reaction is along the lines of, in retrospect, that was dumb. Like, boy, am I glad that I've learned better since then. I also just love her attitude in the narrative because she's reached that age where she just doesn't care anymore. So younger Isabella is significantly more uptight than the Isabella telling us this story, and that is entertaining sometimes. So to everyone, but especially my fellow Ravenclaws, this book is awesome. And now we have finally gotten to Slytherin, one of the most misunderstood houses. The traits and values for Slytherin are cunning, resourcefulness, ambition, and friendship. Yes, you heard me right, Slytherin is the friendship house. The Sorting Hat told us so, in the Philosopher's Stone, look it up. So a book that I think emulates all of these things is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. This is a science fiction novel about a child named Ender who is taken to a battle school in space to be groomed as a general in the war against an insect-like alien race. Ender himself is very cunning and resourceful, and that's a good thing too, because his training is grueling. It's a sink or swim situation, so he has to be scrappy. He has to be tactical and creative just to get through the day, particularly because a lot of his training takes the form of various mind-bending games that he really has to think his way out of. Some of them are difficult, some of them are almost impossible. I wouldn't say that Ender himself has a great deal of ambition. That's more the purview of the various adults putting pressure on him, the ones who set these astronomical expectations and then push him to meet them. But the book itself is definitely ambitious, both because of the futuristic world that the author created, with its own technology and controversy and politics, and also in terms of what the story tries to accomplish. It is packed with commentary and themes about cultural clashes, the sources of power, the value of communication, the ethics of wartime. It really goes into the nature of right and wrong, particularly in terms of necessity. At least when I read it, it really brought up the eternal question of how far is too far? Do the ends justify the means? That is a tall order to try to tackle that question. I think it's impressive. On a personal level, friendship plays an important role for Ender in terms of his character arc. He has a few critical relationships that are put under a lot of strain because of all of the pressure on him. But even under these harsh circumstances, there's a degree of trust and loyalty between him and these people that doesn't break. I broke. This book broke me. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. But I'm warning you right now, Ender's Game is dark. It's complicated and nuanced and brilliant, and it hurts, but it's so worth it. I can't speak for any of the sequels because I haven't read them yet, but I do have the second Speaker of the Dead, so I hope to get to that one at least this year. So these have been my first picks for the 4 Hogwarts houses. If you disagree with how I sorted any of these books, or you just have other thoughts you'd like to share, I would love to hear them, so leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from my channel, hit that subscribe button and I will see you in the next video.